Do, do, do. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Spirit Hunters Paranormal UK. Now, we're going to talk about our Margam event because there's been a few changes, unfortunately. Right. Laurie is nearby, but she's just going to be in the comments because she's having one of her bad days with her muscles. So, as you all know, I've been reading these books, which has given me quite a bit of information about Margam. And the various ghosts that may be there. So, first of all, some changes. Originally, there's Laurie. Originally, Margam was going to be three of us, me, Laurie, and Craig. Unfortunately, it's just going to be me and Laurie now because he's got into financial difficulties or something like that, so can't be helped under the situation, but you know, what can you do? So what I want to do is talk about the history of Margam. If you know it as well, jump in as well in the comments. More than welcome. And what we might expect. So if we just, hold on, let me just go on Google a minute because I have got a really bad memory and short-term loss memory as well while we're at it. Oh God, no, not Margaret. Don't even know what that is. I just want the history. Okay. So you can all still see me, but I'm just popping over onto Wikipedia for a minute because what's going on there? No, not that one. That one. Popsy fucking. Right. So this is just from Wikipedia. Margam Castle, Margam, Port Talbot, Wales, is a late Georgian county house built for Christopher Rice Mansell, whatever that is, Talbot, designed by Thomas Hopper. Was that Hooper? Either way, sorry, my pronunciation with words is pretty bad. The castle was constructed in a Tudor revival style over a 5-year period from 1830 to 1835. The site has been occupied for some 4,000 years. A Grade 1 listed building, the castle is now in the care of Neath Port Talbot County Borough Council. So there's a bit of history there. It is also an Iron Age hill fort at one point. I don't think any remains are left as far as I know. Literally, I'll read it out to you. The Margam estate was occupied in the Iron Age and the remains of a hill fort from that period. I'm not pronouncing that blooming word that's in Welsh, but it's something Castell, which is the word for castle. Stands north of the castle. After the Norman invasion of Wales, Robert, 1st Earl of Gloucester, Lord of Glanmore, granted the lands at Margam to blooming out, I can't even pronounce that word, Clairvaux Abbey, for establishment of a new monastery which became Margam Abbey. Following the dissolution of the monasteries from 1536, Margam estate was bought by Sir Rice. What a strange name, Sir Rice. His descendants built a substantial Tudor mansion in the park. In the 18th century, this mansion was demolished and the family returned to one of their earlier ancestral homes. Why does that always happen? I mean, I'm just going to make a point here. We were talking about Bay Pomeroy the other day. Obviously, the Pomeroys originally owned Bay Pomeroy. Then they sold it to the Seymours, and the Seymours came from further up country, and they stayed in there for a bit, and then they left it as well and went back to their early old ancestral home. It's like, why do that? Unless the place is cursed, of course. in which case, wicked, more activity. Returned to one of their earlier ancestral homes, Penrice Castle. I don't know that one. I'm going to have to open that in another tab and read about it later. Thomas Marcel Talbot, 1747 to 1813, commissioned Anthony Cleck to build a mansion next to the castle ruins. Cleck was employed at Margam, which Talbot turned into a pleasure garden. Using Cleck as a design, an enormous orangery? What the hell's that? Nah. Christopher Rice Marcel Talbot, that is a mouthful, succeeded his father in 1813 at the age of 10. Jesus, that's quite young to be given an estate. Enriched by the development of Port Talbot in the early 19th century, after making a grand tour of Europe, a young man, Talbot, returned to South Wales in 1830, re-established Margam as his main seat. A new house, Margam Castle, was designed in a Tudor Gothic style by architect Thomas Hooper, 1776 to 1856. With Edward Haycock Sr., that's a strange name as well, 1790 to 1870, as supervisor, architect, and designer of parts of the interior and exterior of the house, the stables, terraces, and lodges. Talbot was also interested in the project, encouraged its architecture to borrow elements from Langcock Abbey in Wiltshire, ancestral home of the Talbots, and home to his cousin William Henry Fox Talbot. Again, what's with the long names? And Melbourne House in Dorset, home of his mother's family, the Fox Strangeways. Is that where the name for the prison comes from? Earls of Leicester, William Henry Fox Talbot was a frequent visitor to Margam. The castle featured as an image in some of the early photographic experiments. Margam's links with photography also includes being the location of the earliest known Welsh photograph. I'm not pronouncing that word again, it's all in Welsh. Of a castle taken on 9th of March 1841 by the revered Cavalier Richard Jones. After the death of Emily Charlotte Talbot, the daughter of its first owner, the castle passed to his nephew and continued to be used by the Talbot family until 1941, when it was sold to Davis Aaron Brevan, who bought it and found it too large to live in. Really? Too large? Yeah, more like you couldn't deal with the hauntings, mate. That's what it sounds like. But could not find any public organisation taking it on. Well, it's an expensive building, so it would be difficult. And it fell into disrepair for many years. Again, this is what happened to Barry Pomeroy. It belonged to the local authority but was not open to the public. In 1977, a fire caused substantial damage, and it was only after this that the restoration project began in its earnest. Today, Margam Castle is in the care of Neath Port Talbot County Borough Council. Reputed hauntings. Now, there's more hauntings than this because I've seen them, but this is just what it says. The castle is reputedly haunted. In 2019, a paranormal investigator from America television series Paranormal Lockdown visited the castle. The resulting investigations became an episode of the show's third season. A TV movie was made in 2020, The Haunting of Margam Castle. I have watched that and it is all right. Written and co-produced by Andrew Jones, distributed by 4 Digital Media, yada yada yada, Netflix, yeah, all that stuff. So it is haunted. Now let's see if we can find some stories of the ghosts, because that's what we're here for, isn't it, boys and girls? Margam Castle. Ghosts. Bear with, people. I am just literally looking on the webpage. Come on. Okay, so these are the ghosts of Margam Castle. One is a groundskeeper. I'll read you the story in a minute. I'm just trying to go through and get an idea of how many different stories there are. Okay, so it says there's only the groundskeeper. I don't believe that, but I'll read you the story of the groundskeeper. It is believed that one frequent encounter spirit is thought to be Robert Scott, a gamekeeper, which is the same as groundskeeper, that worked at the castle for many years. It is thought that Scott was murdered by a poacher, and his spirit still rages around the grounds today. Robert Scott has often been seen purposely ascending the Gothic staircase leading to the castle. His presence has come forward regularly with psychic investigations. I read that wrong. All those who have insisted his spirit is consuming with rage over his unjust killing. The sound of giggling children is heard frequently along the long corridors and dramatic rooms of the family area. There have been reports of children in Victorian dress seen drifting in and out of doorways, mischievously moving objects. Well, that's interesting. The large figure of a blacksmith is also a familiar vision to many of the gamekeepers and gardening staff today, who maintain the vast castle grounds at night. At night, the castle security guards have reported the noise of running footsteps and chattering voices with no sign of anyone else in the building. In recent years, the high reports of paranormal activity have brought the psychic investigators to this wonderfully intriguing building. Reports of cold spots and orbs in the castle are frequently abundant on paranormal activity nights. It seems the castle is flushed with physical energy or psychic energy. Rocks have been thrown at those who hold seance and endeavour to speak with the spirits. Note to self, don't get an Ouija board out. The most violent and angry spirit is certainly Robert Scott, who is said to have slammed doors and hurled projectiles emitted from forbidding presence. Margam Castle is an impressive, dramatic site with unique architectural features. The number of paranormal stories coming from the castle on a regular basis could make this property a contender for the most haunted house in Britain. So, yeah, got quite a few stories there. I mean, I know there's more than that. You wouldn't just have one story. Let me see if I can find others, because I know there's more than that. But I've heard of the groundskeeper slash gamekeeper. I always call them groundskeepers because that's what they are. Because when you say gameskeeper, you think of Hagrid from Harry Potter. I don't think we've got magical creatures around. Right, bear with. Okay. Okay, I've already gone through the history of you via Wikipedia, so I don't need to read that bit out. Okay, murder and ghosts of Margam Castle. In 1898, what was described as one of the most awful crimes that took place on Margam Castle estate, Robert Scott, 39, the head gamekeeper, discovered a poacher while doing his rounds. Scott had sighted the poacher, who had made a gap in the wall and was now inside the grounds. The poacher, realizing he had been caught, ran back towards the gap, and at the same time, Robert Scott ran towards it, hoping to cut the poacher off. Scott managed to get to the gap first, only to see that the poacher had a shotgun. While he did not hesitate to fire at Scott's face, the result was horrible. The dislocation of the lower jaw and shattering of facial bones. That doesn't sound nice. This did not kill him though. He managed to struggle for some distance before collapsing. This is when the poacher caught up to him and leaned across the wall to take another shot, this time hitting Scott in the shoulder. The poacher then took off and Scott died alone. So from looking at a area of why there's a haunting there, this guy died horribly. He was shot in the face with a shotgun, which is never good because with shotgun bullets, they go outwards as well like that once they hit their target. So they spray, in other words. So he had a horrific death to start with, which is always a case of severe trauma creates all this energy that stays there. Whether it's residual or intelligent, I don't know. We'll find out. Poaching was rife on Margam estate as there was plenty of game to be found. Many gamekeepers and assistants have been attacked before, with one even having been beaten and tied up in a tree. See, that could also create energy as well because it's fear. No attack has been as deadly as this one. Sadly, Robert Scott's wife was left behind with a small child and his widow not even allowed to view his body due to the horrific damage. As I say, shotgun blast to the face. It's not going to be pretty. It's said that the angry spirit that haunts Margam Castle is that of the unhappy Robert Scott, which we've just gone through what happened. Although he is said to be sighted in the grounds of Margam Castle, he is also reported on the imposing Gothic staircase. Frequently, poltergeist activity such as stone throwing also put down to the angry gamekeeper. But it's not just the gamekeeper who is thought to be haunting the county house. As sounds of children been heard running and playing, this is more mysterious as we cannot find many reports of children dying here. Could this be less intelligent and just residual? Tell that to the real children who wandered off and when found claimed they'd been playing with a new friend. In other words, there's child spirits there too. But just because there's no report that children died there doesn't mean it didn't happen. Okay. The paranormal investigation. For some reason, from the very beginning, this amazingly beautiful building gave us the creeps. No more so than the imposing Gothic staircase that Margam Castle is famous for. As we explain, the building on our own. My eyesight's terrible. We both agree that the staircase? What's a staircase? Felt the most uncomfortable, giving us both intense feeling that we were not welcome. It should be remembered at this stage that had we gone in blind, knowing very little about the history and the hauntings there, we finally settled in the nursery upstairs when a large table and chair allowed us to sit. As we were not as young as we used to be, this is always welcome to get to the nursery. You had to walk through several rooms, a fact that did cross our minds should something happen. That makes me really confident. Me and Laurie are getting on as it is. It was as we were setting up that something brushed across my arm, almost as if I had been stoked. I have no idea what that word means. Stoked. Or was that stroked? Might be stroked. I quickly got Keg, what a strange name, to come up with the camera and see accompanying video. And indeed, all hairs on the arm had lifted as if there was some source of static. As you know, spiritual energy causes static energy in itself. It's one of the byproducts. It's like when we get goosebumps, they say it's a spirit around us. Where was we? There we go. Finally, with the lights off, we settled down in the darkness and waited to see if anybody from the other side wanted to interact. It wasn't long before we were hearing sounds in the room with us. There was a subtle rushing as if almost akin to the swishing of a long dress. This sound was circling us in the room, more closely followed by the sound of somebody breathing heavily. Strangely, was heard clearly by us, but not picked up on the video. You see, that happens sometimes. You can hear something. It goes both ways as well, incidentally. You can hear something yourself and nothing will be picked up on video. But at the same time, you can't hear something when you're there, but on the video, you pick up something. It's happened to me many times, particularly at the prisons. The taps on the table next to us and the knocks to the side, which were picked up on the video, also put us strangely on edge. But one sound really made us jump, and that was the sound in the room behind us of a pebble or small rock being thrown, something we were later to find out was a regular happening in the area of the building. We conducted a brief ghost box session and appeared to get a couple of interesting responses, not least a voice, almost electronic, saying, "I apologize for this word, this is exactly what their report says." Electronic voice saying "bastard." Why interesting? Because it sounded like Keg's voice, as if she was being mimicked. So that's interesting. They've got something that mimics voices. Now, one thing that springs to mind with me is a demonic entity, because there's some demons out there that can mimic other people's voices. So that's interesting. We soon moved to the bottom of the staircase, but apart from a couple of loud thuds from upstairs, whatever was in the building seemed less talkative now. We did get one interesting noise that I'm unsure how to describe. If you watch the video, I will let you make up your own mind of what it is, as we have no idea. Even our security man, Dave, who joined us at the end, never heard this before. We didn't hear it audibly. In other words, they didn't hear it at the time. Margam Castle and Park is the most amazing and beautiful place and well worth a visit. We didn't get to investigate the Abbey ruins this time around, as the house kept us busy. Maybe next time. So there's an Abbey ruin there as well. So if it's a dry night, we might do that too. There is a video here. I wonder if I can actually watch. I might watch that a bit later. Give us an idea of what we're dealing with. But yeah, it's a very old building. It's full of history. It's going to keep me and Laurie really busy. But so we're going to go through the changes now. Obviously, it's just me and Laurie now. So we're going up a couple of days before, so we can settle down in our hotel and relax and whatnot. We're getting quite an early train. I think it's like 10:20, so we've got to be up by 6. It's going to be fun. I'm currently charging a lot of equipment now, funny enough. As you can see, got the light there on charge, got the spirit box speaker there. I've already done like the camera. So it's all in hand at the moment. We're also going to check out a few places nearby if we can. But aside from Margam, we do have a possible private event we might be doing soon. I'm not going to go into detail what it is because it's private for a reason. Oh yeah, I've only just noticed Laurie's comments. It's because I was reading from Wikipedia. Laurie says, very old building. It is. We will have great fun. We will. It'll be fun. Well, I don't really call it paranormal fun. I call it more of a passion and an interest. But we are going to go other places as well if we can. We're going to see what's around. If there's other like haunted locations, even if it's a graveyard, we might check it out. I don't know. I don't know Port Talbot very well. I don't know Wales that well, to be fair. So this is all new to me. Closest I've been to Wales would probably be Cardiff, when I was kicking around with a completely different partner. So this is all new to me. All I know is the Welsh language is really hard to understand and I'm going to struggle. So So, you know, it's just going to be one of those things. Hopefully, I've heard they speak English anyway, but let's hope they like the English. I know there's a lot of prejudice there from the old days. Laurie said, we'll work it out and find things to do. We will indeed. And we will have a whale of the time. Excuse the pun, because it's Wales. So, yeah, you've got a lot of history there. You've got a lot of... The groundskeeper, to me, sounds like what I'd say is very traumatic. Obviously, he didn't die instantly when he had a shotgun to the face and it dislocated one of his jaws, or his jaw, I should say. So you've got that element, which is interesting. So we might do the grounds as well and the Abbey if it's a dry day. If it's wet and it's raining, we can't. But if it's dry, of course. I'm trying to think what else we could do there aside from the event. I mean, we're going to maybe go to a few restaurants. We've got a restaurant at our hotel, so if that's any good, we'll probably stay there. More because Laurie's not too great walking places, and I want to try and limit walking as much as possible. We are going to go to a place called Burger Boys on the way in, because it's literally halfway between the train station and our hotel. So we're going to stop off there for some lunch, because I think we get in like 2 o'clock and we can't check in till 3. So we've got a bit of time to kill. So we'll have a suitcase with us, unfortunately, but oh well. We will go to this Burger Boys, try it out, see what it's like. I've heard it's quite good. Funny enough, it was the other guy who was meant to be coming with us who mentioned it. So, cheers, mate. We shall enjoy it. We'll take some pictures and show you. But honestly, it's going to be pretty good. It's going to be good to get back on the horse, so to speak. You know, when you look back at it, and we last did Gloucester. We were originally going to do Dover in November last year. But of course, as we all know, I had a medical emergency. Yeah. I hope that doesn't happen again, because it really does interfere. I've been recovering now for like, what? October time. Bit of a nightmare. Dover's also... Yeah, this will be our first event of the year. But it's not going to be our last this year. We're doing as many as possible with what we can afford, obviously, because obviously me and Laurie, we're both on benefits. We both do this all ourselves. We don't ask no one for nothing. And yeah, we just do it to try and gather evidence and share it with the world. You know, doesn't mean we'll always find that evidence, because I charged it. Yeah. See, I'm currently charging bits of equipment now. This is the most awkward camera opener I've ever had. But unfortunately, the batteries do need charging. Because this is for my remote camera. It's literally like a GoPro, if you will. Only it's miles in front of GoPro. I'm going to have to do an update video on the equipment we use at some point, and I will do. It just depends on what is going on at the time and things like that. Can't get in the L. I can't get it in the L. What's going on? There we go. There we go. So, yeah, it's going to be a very interesting event, I think, because you've got several layers of history there. You've got an old Iron Age fort. So when they say Iron Age, I assume they mean like a Motte and Bailey, maybe. No idea. Might even be a Roman one. Let's just type in Iron Age fort and see what it comes up with, because I'm curious. Iron Age Hill Fort. I wanted to know what an Iron Age hill fort was. Right, so basically it's like a settlement. Okay, I'm with you. So basically it is essentially... Now, I don't want to subscribe to someone's page without being able to see the image. Yay, at last. So basically, it's like a settlement with a set of rings around it. So it's a natural defense barrier. This is before the days of castles. So you could say it's pre-Motte and Bailey. It's before the Motte and Bailey, but I could be wrong. Versus Motte. Okay, so we're going to use this one, Barwick in M's Iron Age hill fort and Motte and Bailey Castle. So this is just going to be an example of the difference. So obviously we know what a Motte and Bailey Castle is. You got the keep on the top of the hill, which is surrounded, and then below you've got the lower bit of the castle, which is the Bailey. Which, when you think about it, doesn't make sense, because with a normal castle, the defense is the moat. So you would have thought the Motte would be the bottom bit and the Bailey be the top, but whatever, it is what it is. So essentially, you've got a higher bit and a lower bit, a bit like Oakhampton Castle, which is a very good castle, and if you can go there, I would advise it, because it won't be there forever. I'm not going to say much about what's going on with the Barry Pomeroy situation at the moment, because at the end of the day, I'm just keeping an eye on it. But it's not looking good for paranormal investigators to go there at the moment. They're talking about sealing it off. I've seen many people mentioning it, which if they do, yeah, it's not going to be great. But essentially, the difference between a Motte and Bailey Castle and a Iron Age hill fort is it's just there's no palisades. In other words, which are wooden walls. In case people wasn't too sure. Correction. There's palisades, but in front of them there is natural defense ditches. For instance, think of it as Minas Tirith from Lord of the Rings in reverse. That's all I could describe it as. So you've got the biggest ditches at the entrance, and then you've got another ditch going down, and then another one, and then it goes a little bit up. Then you've got the palisades. It's basically like a protected village or protected fort, which is interesting. And obviously with a Motte and Bailey castle, wrong one. I clicked on the wrong one. What is it? I swear I had it on this one. With a Motte and Bailey, it's simple. You've got the drawbridge, you've got the palisade around the main area, which is the Bailey, and then you've got things in there like the workshop, the stables, the barracks, the cowshed, the halls, and beyond the palisades, you've sometimes got water. You've almost got a ditch every time, and then you've got the well in the Bailey as well, which is within the palisade walls, so it's reasonably safe. And to get to the Motte or the keep, you normally have either a flying bridge, in other words, one that you can pull up, or you've got one that can be destroyed if necessary. So yeah, those are the differences. So we'll definitely check out this Iron Age hill fort. if we can, if weather permits, of course. I wonder if I can get a map up of what's around at Margam itself. I don't want a floor plan as such. No, I don't want to go. Oh, it's taking forever. Why is that taking forever? Why do you have to be so slow, computer? It shouldn't be slow either. This is quite a powerful computer. Margam Castle layout, maybe? Layout plan, layout map. Let's try layout map. Download image, maybe? It's a bit blurred. I don't want it blurred. I want to be able to see it. It's the trouble with some of these images online. They're really blurred and I can hardly blim see them. Oh, but we do have a map here. All right. Can we zoom in? That's as far as we can go. Use control. That's as far as we can zoom in, so I'm going to have to look at it here. Right. So from what I can see, I'm going to have to screen, well, not so much screenshot it, but screen capture it. And me and Laurie will go over it together of where we want to go if it's a dry night. Unfortunately, the Abbey is quite far away from the actual castle. I wonder if we can go to the Abbey a separate night. Because the Abbey's in ruins, I believe. That is definitely saved. Don't ball me around, computer. Thank you. Got some blueprints here, but can't download them, unfortunately. They are a little better, but still. I'll just try and screenshot it, I suppose. Because what I want to do, I want to try and plan accordingly of when we go there, if possible. I mean, it's not probably going to go that way because things never go right for me and Laurie. You know it. Oh, can I get a better plan? Site map. Let's see what that looks like. Well, that's helpful. He's not telling me anything. Well, that's useful. Park leaflets. Okay, so number one's the castle area. Right, okay. Where's the Abbey? Okay. Right, can I save this picture? No. No. What I will do is download these guides, because that way, yeah, it always does, doesn't it, Bab? It always goes wrong. What we got? Right, so this is a bit more blown up. Okay, I'm going to share this with Laurie in a minute because she can read it as well and she can see where everything is. 9. I'm looking for 9, and oh, it's right in front of me. So the hill fort remains is actually right by the castle, which is quite handy. Jesus, there's lots of stuff here. There's like Ruins of a chapel? Of an abbey? Of an old hill fort? Christ. I'll have to check this all out. Well, within reason. There's some things we won't be able to do. Where's the abbey? Where's the abbey? Castle area. Okay. So yeah, I'll share this with Laurie in a minute and she can have a look and see what she thinks. But we'll try and do as much as possible in one night. If we're allowed on those grounds again, I will ask. I can't promise it's going to be a yes. Some places are very difficult. You know, even if we're the most caring, respectful team, they still will be like, no, it's private property after a certain time, blah, blah, blah. And it is what it is. I mean, I could contact the guy who owns Margam in advance, but I think it would be a bit too late at this point. Because I had no idea there was an abbey there and there was old hill forts. So the orangey garden, it does look like orangey to me, and gardens is ruins of something. Oh, the abbey. So that's where the abbey is. So the abbey, it's not too far from the castle. I'd say it's about 5-8 minute walk, maybe 10. The gardens, it's quite big actually. The actual landmass of Margam is quite big. It's bigger than I thought. I mean, we're just going to the castle, but if we can do the other stuff as well, I'll happily do it. But yeah, so we're gonna probably, I was gonna say, my mind's gone blank. It's this storm. We will be leaving, I think it's the 23rd we leave. We don't get back again till the following Monday. We're travelling up by train, as I've said, because obviously me and Laurie don't drive as of yet. I mean, who could afford it in this day and age? Not unless you're on a really high paid job. So, early start for us that day. I might just stay up all night rather than draining myself. I should just drink coffee. And that's probably when you'll next see a video. Now, you might see something before that if we do this private event. The guy we're doing it with, he wants to keep it hush-hush. He does specifically want to keep it small, which is fair enough. You know, when you're invited, you don't say, oh, can I bring this? Can I bring that? You know, it's rudeness. It's just like, what? It's just like if we invite someone to an event, they don't bring every Tom, Dick and Harry with them. It's just a bit unprofessional, a bit rude. So, you know, got to be careful on that one. So we'll be doing that. Hopefully sometime, not this week, next week. Because we're waiting for the weather to clear. And as you all know, if you live in England, specifically Till Bay, it's absolutely terrible at the moment. It's raining cats and dogs out there. I just went out for a cigarette before I did this live stream. And literally, it's blowing so hard, the cherry, as it's known, on the end of the cig, blew off. That's how windy it is at the moment. And the rain's awful. But it's England, you know, it rains. So, a couple of thoughts. This place has got some dark history, definitely. As I say, I'll go through it with Laurie. I'm going to send it to her in a minute, actually. I wonder where I can send that to her. Where's the download button? Download. No, I don't want to print it. What's that blooming point of that? Right, do you know what? We're just going to send it to downloads for now because I don't know what else to try. And then I'll try and send those over to Laurie so she can have a look, because obviously she can't see my screen. But It's quite interesting. It really is. So that is what we got in store. We've got a tragic event to a groundskeeper who I'd imagine he was killed outside the castle. I'd imagine he was killed in the grounds. So by that, we might get activity outside. But he's also meant to haunt the staircase of the castle as well, which is interesting. Maybe he feels like that they are more poachers trying to intrude and take over the building or something. I don't know. But we'll see what goes on. So that is probably about it for now. I can't think of nothing else. Unless I can find the other ghost stories I read in this book here, which I bought a while ago. There is quite a few on Margam, but bear with me. I'm just looking for the ghost stories, not the actual history, because it's got a bit of the history as well. Oh, people are saying that there's an old wooden frame there as well. Bottom of the staircase, which when you touch it, you can feel this kinetic, psychic energy. So we'll look out for that too. Because upon touching the frame, both of these people felt quite strange and almost unwell, which is interesting, if not a bit scary. I'm trying to read this really quickly again, just to find where I found it. Oh, God. Apparently there's been reports of whistling as well, which means my lovely partner will be doing her old whistling trick again, like she did at all the prisons. That's the one. Which, by the way, incidentally, on our Shepton Mallet one, we didn't even know we had a reply. But someone did whistle back. Yeah. There's a female spirit there apparently who's like 50 years old. It doesn't say who she is. It's just an entity that they described. Obviously, these are psychic mediums doing the investigation. That's the one thing we need here at Spirit Hunters Paranormal UK. We need to get someone who's a medium on board, who's happy to come with us, do these events. You see, years ago, Facebook had a job thing where you could advertise. You can't do that now. But I'd say it'd be a good idea to have a medium as part of the team. I might put a post on the group on Facebook a bit later. See if anyone's interested. Apparently the spirits were speaking French as well, which is interesting because French is normally Norman era. And this castle was way after the Normans, although the hill fort might have been during the Norman era or just before. I'm just quickly looking, see if there's any more ghost stories. Hearing footsteps running up the stairs. You're probably going to have the usual like screams and stuff, especially if someone was brutally murdered. Chairs have moved on their own as well, apparently. A spirit pointed at one of these people here, and all of a sudden she just yelled, she screamed. Doesn't say why, but I can guess maybe it tried to enter her body. You know, not so much a possession, more of a temporary possession, a bit like what happened to Laurie at Oakhampton. Please, never again. Can't promise, she says. But yeah, it's absolutely filled with history, and it's going to be a good one. It's a real shame that Craigie boy's missing out, but these situations can't be helped financially. I was in the same boat a couple of years ago, but never mind. We all wish him well. He won't be able to watch this. He's doing his thing. But I'm going to put a post up in a minute on Facebook of the group asking if anyone wants to join us who's a medium. That would help at all the locations, because I'm not a medium. I can sense stuff to a point. You know, I can feel when someone's walked in the room, but I cannot get a vague description of them, you know. I cannot describe, yeah, they were 6 foot. Yeah, they wore peasant clothing and so on and so forth. I cannot do that. I don't know how to. All I get is, yes, there's someone around, and I can sometimes sense whether they're male or female. Depending on, like, if, like, when I sense something that's the smell of perfume, such as roses or lavender, I think, a female. Whereas if I smell, like, rotting stuff, I think male. Although it could be either, to be fair. But I don't think you had any of the, what would you call them? You didn't have any same-sex stuff back then, so I don't think a man would be wearing perfume, although you never know. But yeah, that's going to do it. I'm going to put a post on now on Facebook looking for a medium to join us, join the team, because that will help at the prisons, that will help at various castles. Which brings me to one more point very, very quickly, not about Margam, but we have a couple of events booked now. I might need to return to this subject in the future, but let's hope not. So I'm going through my diary. It's got all my dates. So we're doing Dorchester Prison this year. We did book 3 places. Again, the same person who was meant to come with us to the Margam one cannot come to that one by the looks of it. So I'm going to be at some point looking for anyone who wants to join us and happy to pay the £59 or whatever it is that Haunted Happenings charge. That's all I've done. I've already paid the deposits. In fact, that's got to be paid in a couple of months, come to think of it. And we are doing something in July, I'm sure of it. I've got a feeling it's HMP Gloucester in July. Got Shepton Mallet in September, which is where we first did our first paid for event with a group. And then in November, we've got another castle in North Wales, which will be interesting. I want to try and squeeze in Warwick at some point, Colchester, Oxford especially, because it's where the witches were supposedly held during the Salem. No, that's the wrong one. That's across the pond. The Pendle Hill witch trials. So hopefully we can find those events. I will look on Haunted Happenings, but it all depends on finances and traveling. As I say, me and Laurie, we travel everywhere by public transport, so places preferably need to be close by. For instance, with Margam, it's going to be a little bit of a journey, but we can do it by taxi because it's not in the middle of nowhere. So it's doable. Whereas some places I've looked at, like the bunker thing, Kevden Hatch or something. It's a bunker, and the nearest town's like 3 miles away. So, and even then, there's no hotels in that town that I can find on booking.com. So we'd be totally screwed. So I couldn't do that one. I was disappointed because we had permission to film there and everything. Never mind. We will update you as we go, but assuming the weather's still bad, the next video will be Margam Castle. If not, though, we will have something to upload before then. But yeah, that's about it. Sorry if I'm rabbiting on. I'm just keeping you updated. I try to keep people in the loop as much as possible so they know what we're doing and they know what to expect. Right, that's it from me. Anything from you, Babs? She's in the comments. Nope. All right. Okay, so stay safe, everyone. And we will see you soon. Stay safe and good hunting. Bye for now.